How's it going today, guys? This is Chris here again with the second entry into our series Mtga Misplays. Today we'll be playing some more Sultan Fect like we saw in my first Mtga video. This is match 1. As you can see, our opening hand is pretty decent for the deck. We have one of our only 4 tap lands, which is not the best, but we have 2 shock lands so we can get things down early. Hopefully get into the Blight Fang, because it's like the backup plan of the deck. So, even though we don't have Finn in this case, we're still okay. Now, this opening from our opponent means that they're on something white and black. We don't know what it is yet, but the fact that they're not playing any creatures that are low to the ground for us so far is pretty good, because our deck is... we want to get in and get the kill before they get anything down, or while we have a Tetsuko Umezawa on the battlefield, so that way we don't have to actually deal with blockers, because all of our creatures individually are just not that great. Like 1/1 Death Touch creatures, they can block out a good number of things, but they're not like great blockers, and they put down their own creature that has Afterlife 2, which is really bad for us, because that means that they can actually just block and then they'll be up a blocker. We opt to get down another 1/1 and then get Tetsuko Umezawa down. This allows us to attack without them having the option to block, and with a lot of the Afterlife creatures, is just better to block with them anyways. So Tetsuko allows us to get in, even though they have a blocker. Here in our opponent's turn 4, we will see them actually play a island. And they get their Whispering Agent down. Turn 4 for the Findex is pretty rough, because at this point there are a lot of good Wrath in Historic that they could bring down on us, and that would be really bad. We opt to put down the Hooded Blight Fang. We are still on 3 mana, so that's probably the best play we got. And that'll give us an additional 3 life from its triggers. Nothing can be blocked, so we're getting in 4 more damage. This is a good place. It's definitely not the worst place well, that's the worst case scenario for the deck. Kaya's Wrath means our opponent kills all 4 of our creatures. They kill their 2 creatures, but they get a vampire trigger, and they also get their Afterlife trigger. So 2 creatures on board versus our nothing. We actually draw our Finn, which is the build around of the deck. We play him. About to say, they're down to 3 cards. They might not have removal for them. That being said, this matchup's starting to look a little rough for us. And our opponent's pausing here, and they have a Plague Crafter. That gets rid of Finn. Finn is dead. And a token also dies because they also have to sack. This still isn't good for us. We need a 4th land, so... oh, well, we did draw the 4th land. This will mean that we can Coco during their turn. Hopefully we can get it off during an attack where they're putting their own creatures on the line, thinking that we don't actually have any blockers when, surprise, Collected Company allows us to have 2 surprise blockers. Maybe it'll go that way. Maybe something bad will happen. I don't know. This seems like the kind of deck that our deck will struggle with in the long game. Generally with Finn, if you get to this point in the game, you're probably losing, but we're not out of the game yet. Collective Company is one of those great cards for just keeping you in the game when you have no business being there. First misplay of the first noticeable misplay of the series, I didn't Coco there. Why? Don't really remember why. But we had 4 mana up, we had a Collective Company in hand, didn't use it. That's pretty bad. But you all read the series title, so you knew what you were in for. I'm not going to claim that I'm the best Magic player or even a good Magic player, but even I should know that's not what you do with a Coco. You don't just hold it when you have your mana up until your turn. We get Lazav down. I've been kind of talking over this section, but Lazav, he can copy something that's in our yard. I think the reason I played Lazav was because I realized I had misplayed, and I was like, yeah, I'll make it look like I had this intention all along, and hope nobody notices. But you know, you gotta call yourself out sometimes, and that was definitely a bad play on my part. Pitiless Pontiff comes down. Now, that creature isn't great for us, because if you activate it for the sack ability, it gets Indestructible and Death Touch, which means that we can't really block it because, and we try to block out the Plaguecrafter, but they have a pump spell. They have a pretty non-standard but pretty good in the situation pump spell. Indestructible, an additional point of damage against our Death Toucher. That pretty much shuts us down. And I think with this passing of the turn, we're going to go for the Collective Company. It's one of two cards in hand, so I assume at this point I realize how it works, but you never know. I could forget. These things happen. They attack in. Oh, we do go for the Collective Company. That's a good sign. Magic may be hard, but when your options are limited, apparently it's a little easier. And we get the Hooded Blightfang and the Fin off the attack, off the spell. Hooded Blightfang is really good in this deck because we can block out things like Plaguecrafter that have a lot of toughness. Fin can also do that to a degree. It's really good against mono red in that it won't die to a shock, which is 2 damage. So they'll have to use a 3 damage spell to actually kill him. And that can be a little taxing on our opponents sometimes because they want to use their smaller burn spells on creatures and their larger burn spells on burning you out of the game. Our opponent's thinking here. I don't know. Ooh, there was a graveyard highlight, wasn't there? And it's brought back. Okay, Plaguecrafter comes down. We sacrifice the Hooded Blightfang. Remember how I was just talking about how it's good for blocking? Apparently I decided that wasn't a thing here. So we don't keep it around for blocking. We keep Fin, and we draw our Triome. We're going to cycle a Triome because that's another reason the card's in the deck. We cycle into another draw spell, but instead we're just going to cast it as a creature because I think at this point I was feeling a little unsteady in the fact that every time I try to have a decent blocker on board, they just remove it. So having another creature on board would definitely help in keeping blockers up because I'm gonna I attacked with my Fin and then I Neoform the Fin. So that way we have 2 blockers this turn. Little janky because we're gonna lose out on the Fin value that we could have gotten over the course of a few turns, but at the same time it means that one removal spell doesn't prevent us from blocking. And I mean, we're down to 6 life at this point. We could legitimately die at any second. The life game of Hooded Blightfang might be able to keep us alive for a little longer, but it's not looking good. They have 8 power, we have 5 life. Collective Company helps though. If we get 2 creatures off of it, we can attack, gain some life, and then still have a blocker. And we did hit 2 creatures. We hit 2 of our best creatures, 2 of our deck's combo piece creatures. This means that we can attack with both the Foulmire Knight and the Hooded Blightfang. They can't just block out the Foulmire Knight. We're going to get in our poison damage, which is what we're here to do. And we're going to gain 2 life, which means we're not just dead in the air. They are hovering creatures, which always makes me nervous, but they're tapped out, so hopefully they don't have anything. I would be surprised if they have anything. I think Pact of Negation is the only really free spell in Historic. But they wouldn't run that. You could technically run that. I don't know how many copies I have, though. And this is the part where I missed the line because they had 8 mana. That angel can put +1/+1 counters. We're dead. Game 1. Okay, here we are on game 2. Opening hand isn't too bad. We still have a trio, which for our low to the ground creature aggro deck is never great. That's a sword. Life gain decks could be a problem for us because they eliminate our backup plan, which means we are all in on Finn here. Let's hope they're not the variant of life gain decks that's running around with a lot of creature removal. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And here they play another Soul Warden. 2 is pretty good. We draw a Sledge Scorpion. We're going to play that after we play our Triome. With that, we can I guess we're going to go with the Viper instead. This is starting to be a little bit of a mirror match because those 2 blockers aren't too good for us, but we decide not to attack in. We put down a Hinterland Harbor. We get our Finn. And, well, we decided to play Finn second here, I think. Why we decided that, I don't know. I think I was trying to decide whether or not I was just going to Sledge Scorpion in Neo form or Sledge Scorpion and Finn. Because we could have Neo formed into Tetsuko Umezawa and got our unblockableness on the board, because they have a pretty stacked board for blocking. I mean, the Soul Wardens are valuable for their deck, but there's going to be a point in the game where they're not needed anymore, and they can just chump block out our little 1/1 Death Touchers all day. We get our first 2 poison counters, because apparently they're not at the point of the game where they don't value Sword Warden yet. On 4 mana, they shock in. Let's see what they play. Hovering Finn's a little worrying. No removal, please. 1 time. They're thinking about it. I really wish they'd... They were thinking about Finn. They were. And now he's gone. Skyclave Apparition. That is a good card. We draw another land. I guess the plus side of our previous line of play is that we still have the Neoform. We can go get another Finn if we want. And I think that's what we're going to do. I think we're actually going to do it the smart way here too, and play a creature, then sacrifice the creature with Summoning Sickness so that we get in all 3 of our poison points of damage. Now we still have a slight problem here in that we're not unblockable. And this deck really wants to have both Tetsuko and Finn down if our opponent has any type of creature board. But we can't really make that choice at this moment. We need Finn to finish out this game, so we attack in. This time it looks like they are going to trade off the Soul Wardens, which not great for us. Oh, and they trade off the Skyclave Apparition. That nets us a 2/2 attacking body for next turn, but doesn't have Death Touch, so not really our bread and butter. And they rebuild with a Coco. Luckily for us, it was not a good Coco. We would like to see a Coco. We get a Neoform instead. I mean, it's like a Coco. So we have two options. We can get a 1-drop or a 3-drop. Neither are great for us. We decide to attack in first. That might get another creature off the board. It might not. Looks like it's not going to get another creature off the board. So they take the 4 damage. They get another poison counter. We decide to Neoform. We Neoform the token. It has a converted mana cost of 0, so we can get a 1-drop. We get Foulmire Knight. No real reason why. Any of those would have been a good choice, but Foulmire Knight looks slightly cooler, you know? Zombies. Pretty decent tribe, too. I mean, he's not good in zombies, but he is a zombie, you know? It's our opponent's turn. They are thinking again. Resplendent Angel. Resplendent Angel. With the Bishop of Wings on the board. That seems pretty good. Instead, they create an Angel because they gain 4 life this turn. We draw a Foulmire Knight. I know I said you were cool, man, but you are not the savior of this board state. We decide to draw with him because that's pretty much the only useful thing we can get out of him. We drew a breeding pool, so we didn't really get anything useful, but with 2 Foulmire Knights and a Finn on the board, we decide to go in for the attack. The reason is that even if we draw Tetsuko, 2 of our Death Touchers won't be unblockable. Their board state is going to create an Angel pretty much every turn. And we can't stop that unless we get some of these life gain pieces off the board. So we attacked in. We got 1 Soul Warden off the board. That lost us our Finn, which was our win condition. Obviously, we know how to play Magic well. That's the type of quality plays you can expect from this channel. Pass it to their... oh, another Resplendent Angel. Yeah. I think that's the final nail in the coffin for this match. Because at this point, we are not in a pretty good state. We're only drawing lands. And they have way more lives than us and enough flyers to finish the game. Okay, here we are on turn game 3. We decide to mulligan our opening hand. It's a little slow. We don't have any of our 1-drops. We have too many 1-drops not to have one in our opening hand. The second hand isn't the best, but we're going to keep it. We have our 1-drop. We have something in mind to put Backless off because we don't have our black mana for him. Gonna open on the Sledge Scorpion. Well, first we're gonna shock in our breeding pool because we don't really care about our life total, which is probably why we keep dying. But at least we have a 1/1 on turn 1. Most people can't say that. Well, you know, other than good decks that have 1/1s on turn 1. Our opponent's looking at our Sledge Scorpion, trying to figure out what we're doing. They open on a Forest and a Llanowar Elves. The Llanowar Elves, our old friend from the first episode, is back to say hello. Although he's probably a little scary for us because he can block one of our 1/1s. He can also help them just play a Lovestruck Beast, which wouldn't be good for us, or something else big and ridiculous. We attack in. We Neoform. Sacrifice a Sledge Scorpion. Probably going to get our Finn here. Finn seems like a pretty good creature for this current board state. Plus, he's how we win the game, so we gotta get him eventually. Alright, Finn comes down. We pass the turn. Our opponent uses the land or else to cultivate. Normally that'd be a good sign for us because it meant that they were a little low on mana, but because it's also a cultivate, that means they get their third land drop and they get another land drop for next turn, which is bad for us. But we also get a land. We get our Black Source, which is pretty good. We get down our Sledge Scorpion. Another 1/1, and we get down Tetsuko. This means that we can attack for Finn this turn, and then hopefully we can get in at least another 2 points of poison damage next turn. Pass again to our opponent. They have 5 mana this turn. They could do any number of horrible things to us. Hedron Archive was not one of the horrible things I was expecting, but it is pretty horrible because now they're up 2 more mana, and it seems like they're probably ramping into something big, which in Historic either means Ulamog or Ugin, and they are at Ugin next turn, so we may not be able to play much Magic, because this deck is not designed to be board wiped every turn. I know most decks aren't, but our curve is so low for our creatures that a standard Ugin coming in could perceivably board wipe us 7 turns in a row. And that would just be awful. There he is, Ugin the Spirit Dragon. He's a fun card when you're playing him. He's not so fun when you're against him. I can't really rag on how unfun Ugin is because I've played a lot of Ugin, and I've played a lot of games where I'm pretty sure my opponent wasn't having fun because I was playing Ugin. We decide to stick around because with 4 mana up, our Collected Company could get us back in the game. From the looks of things, it won't, but that was bad. We were looking for a Hooded Blightfang there, because if we had a Hooded Blightfang, it could have attacked Ugin on our turn, and it has the text that when it deals combat damage to a Planeswalker, destroy that Planeswalker. So we could have perceivably gotten out from underneath of Ugin, but we don't. At least not yet. If we do, I don't know. I played these games, but I don't, I do remember them, you know. But I want to keep the suspense up. But I can probably guess you guys know where this is going. Ugin pluses to make himself stronger, which means he can wipe our board another 2 times if he needs to. Second Hedron Archive. You know, I hear people love that card in Commander. Just saying. We draw a Finn, which is the build around of our deck, but unfortunately for us, he does not do anything on a board of Ugin. I don't think Ugin's too powerful for Historic. I think that there's a lot of good ways to answer him in Historic. It's just that the deck we're running is a bit of a dice roll, and a bit of a coin flip, really, in that if we can get out to a fast enough start, we're pretty much guaranteed to win against an Ugin deck. But if we don't get to a fast enough start, we're guaranteed to lose against an Ugin deck. I mean, it's a little bit less of a coin flip than something like Tybalt's Trickery, because we could get a Hooded Blightfang off of a Collective Company to actually kill the Ugin. But doesn't look like that's the way things are going to go. It looks like we're just going to draw 1 and 2 drops. Ugin's going to shoot him down, and we lose because of that. So I think this game is pretty much over. I don't know how much longer Past Me is going to stick, and this is what kills it for Past Me. Sublime Epiphany. If we had gotten that Finn down, we could have attacked our opponent with our Foulmire Knight and won, actually, because they're at 8 poison. But they had a counterspell. And I mean, what good blue deck doesn't have a counterspell? But we were hoping that we could get away with something. Instead, this is the first entry into Mtga Misplays that's actually just a 0-3. Because I see no way of us getting out of this. I'm pretty sure this was a lost game. And Ugin takes down our last creature. We have a land in hand. You see my cursor over there starting to drift closer and closer to the concede button. Yeah, there we go. We looked at it. We're clicking it. Game 3 loss. A little bit of a bummer, but what can you do? Hey guys, just wanted to cut in here at the end to briefly show you the deck. It's a fun little deck. It doesn't win too often, but it's a fun deck to play. Basically, just play 1-drops, play a Finn and Tetsuko, try to get to 10 poison counters. I wanted to just stop in and say thank you guys for watching. Thanks for all your support. And we'll be continuing this series into the future. Hopefully we won't get as many 0-3s in the future. Hopefully we'll do 3-0s, but you never know. So thank you all for watching. And as I said before, hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Thanks. Bye for now.